Peggy Anne Salz here at Pocket Gamer, where we catch up with everyone in the industry and some people who don't often make the trip. David Stelzer, I understand, president, of course, of Xsolla, but you don't often make the trip. So here you are in Europe. Let's start off with some impressions about the gaming scene or what you're thinking, because, of course, it's one of those years for Xsolla. This is a global play for you.
Yeah, it is. So far, I've been here since they opened this morning. I came last year to my first Pocket Gamer, and it's looking to be a bit more crowded, which is great news for the industry, I think. Also being, heavily on mobile here at Pocket Gamer, we have some great things to talk about this year for part of our service offerings that really appeal more to mobile this year. So I'm going to be giving a talk downstairs in about 30 minutes time, and we'll go more into that. But we've just started a relationship with AppsFlyer, which allows more tracking, attribution, and more of that information that developers really need to help understand how successful their web shops are and how the spends are going into those web shops for user acquisition and marketing that they're used to getting normally in their mobile play, but now they can bring that from mobile over into their web shop. So it's a good time for us to be here. Tracking
is always the start of testing, great results, optimization. What does tracking look like in this? Is this like a web to app or the reverse? Because you said yourself, a stronger focus on mobile than before. But what does that look like when I'm a publisher thinking about making this part of my strategy? Because I still probably have app stores as well. I'm probably still not going all out on D2C.
That's correct. I think you need all of that as part of your whole strategy because you don't want to leave anything on the table. And when you think about what we're doing with web shops, it's changing consumer behavior to a certain extent, right? And what we like to say is we want you to play on your mobile device, but we want you to pay on the web. So getting people to have those two actions, it's a new model for people to have to do, but it's also allowing us to do what Xsolla does well, which is to allow developers and publishers to make more money, but also to keep more of that money. And the tracking, as you mentioned, it becomes really important. And I'll point this way, but you can't really see it. But you've got companies like Adjust over here, and then the AppsFlyer relationship, like I'm talking about. And this is one of those missing pieces where we've been telling people that the web shops are really valuable. There's a lot to be had in terms of the information that you can glean from it. There's a lot to be had for the fact that you can make more money and keep more money and have that direct-to-consumer relationship. But what was missing was this easy way to figure out if I spend $1,000 on UA on the web shop, am I actually getting the return on that because the data wasn't there? You can do a manual integration, take some extra coding and things like that with a company like Adjust, but with the partnership that we've just spun up with AppsFlyer, it's not even an extra app or anything. When you go into our publisher account and then you go into our site builder, which is the place where you build your web shop, the coding is already done. AppsFlyer is already in there. You just basically click a button, and now you have server-to-server information giving you everything that AppsFlyer would give you from a coded integration or what Adjust would give you from a coded integration. And it's super powerful because now I can see everything about that player data, player spends, player behavior, and know if the money that I'm spending is actually being spent well.
And I'm thinking out loud and hoping this is part of it as well, because then I'm also going to have more insight into who my players are and hopefully some idea of incrementality. You can't really solve for it. It's not the point, but you can either understand so you're not duplicating your reach, that you're augmenting your reach. Is that what this is about here as well?
Yeah, that's definitely a part of it. When you think about the fact that AppsFlyer has almost 100% market penetration integration with the games that are out there, the more information that you can get directly from an MMP like that, the better your information is going to be. And as we know, like since IDFA, getting that information has been harder and harder. The app stores are not making it easy to get that information. And so the more avenues that we can give to the publisher, the more avenues we can give to the developer to know more about their player base, to know more about how they're spending, to know more about how they're enjoying the game, the better that game is going to be, the more efficient that their funnel will be, the more efficiently they can spend money. And then all that money doesn't have to go back into UA. It can go into making great content and the things that people love about those games.
I mean, I won't be able to listen to your talk, David, but I'm sure it's going to be amazing because, of course, you have things like State of Play, which is such a solid report, really, really and truly. We will plug it. We will plug it because I read it. I did a podcast about it. I was with Chris, actually, talking about this. Yeah, give us some insights into the what you want people to get out of your talk, and maybe that will be a way to get into the subject matter of it without having to attend it.
I'll keep it short because I think the easiest thing to say about it is we're really trying to push on this notion of direct to consumer is a necessary piece of what you need to put your game out there into the market. If you don't do direct to consumer, you're leaving money on the table. And there's companies like us that are making direct to consumer easier, more accurate, more powerful. And it really doesn't cost you anything until you make money. You get to use our tools. Those tools are free. We have, part of the income stream, but not until you start making money. So why not?
And to that point, what I've also heard a lot of publishers say when they're thinking about D2C is they're also looking at it as it doesn't have to be a winning game literally from the start because the data matters, the behavior matters. Understanding and working with you will give a basis that when the momentum is there, then you can really let loose with the web shop and it won't be how are we going to attract people, or what do they what resonates with our players? So it's a lot of that as well. So it's the idea of like, get in. First of all, I don't give you anything until I'm making money, but the data is gold, right?
That data is really good, and we don't necessarily even know all the different ways that data is going to be used. But unless you're having that direct-to-consumer relationship and finding that data, you won't have it, and you won't know what to do with it. Really good report just came out from Matthew Ball's research company. And one of the things that stood out to me in there was the fact that so many business models and so many means of user acquisition have been exploited to the point that they're overexploited and something has to be adjusted or something has to disrupt, right? We don't know necessarily what that next disruption will be, but if I have enough data, I can try things, I can play around with it using that player behavior, using that data. So I think that data in how we experiment and how we evolve is going to be really, really valuable.
So to wrap it up, it has arrived. Gaming we knew was a business, but now it's like really a business. Web shops are a business. And to so many publishers that I've been speaking with, it sounds very challenging. So maybe there's something they're missing or something they can start doing or even stop doing right now to prepare for this, because it is going to be part of the norm of doing business.
The biggest thing to learn here is that you have to look at this as part of your marketing funnel. We're seeing lifts of upwards of 30% and more in terms of revenue from what comes into the web shops for people who are doing web shops correctly. You have to put marketing managers on it. You have to treat this as another marketing channel that's not part of the rest of the funnel. And so you have to create your plan specific for web shop in the same way you would for your other portions of your funnel. And the publishers and the developers who are doing that, and we're happy to guide them in what works and what doesn't, they're seeing incredible success.
So there's really nothing to put against that. We're at 2025. What's something we can expect from you, or maybe from what you see in D2C, what you're excited about in 2025?
D2C will continue to grow. I think that is one of those places where there's plenty of room. I also think we're just starting to touch the surface on what D2C really means. We're using it right now as a means of how can I attract more users, sell them something with more value for the purpose of being able to keep more of that revenue. But if you think about it, I now have a channel where I have a direct relationship with my player. I can have discussions in terms of what do you like about our game? What don't you like about our game? How can we make it better? And you have means to go and then implement those things. As we look at how UA or other things can evolve, do we want to create reward programs like the airline companies or like the hotel companies, and those reward points, how can we accrue them? How can we get them? Probably through a direct-to-consumer channel where they'll be able to trade those things in for experiences. If anything becomes of linear content for any of these things, I can now distribute them through my web channel, right? All of these things become a great area of just how I think we're scratching the surface of D2C.
And to your point, it's what it's about. It's about brand building. We're seeing brand inventory come increasingly into the gaming space. But, you know, if you read the reports, Matthew Ball, but others as well, if you don't have a big brand, it's the big brands that are winning. How do you build that? You build that by having communication, direct to consumer, knowing your players, building trust, all of that and more. And so I'm sure we will be continuing this conversation. David, thanks so much for taking the time. And it's proof that you are accessible. You are giving your advice to marketers and everyone here at the show, because I just popped in here and here you're talking with me. So you are the real deal, David. Thank you so much. This show is all about how to do your job better, how to make an amazing game, how to market it, and you have a say. So if you have a story or know someone we need to shine a light on, then we would love to hear from you.
We want to hear from you. We want to reflect the reality of the mobile games market in all its wonderful complexity and strangeness. So if you have any suggestions for us, if you have any feedback for us, you can always get in touch. You can email us at podcast@pocketgamer.biz. You can find us on Twitter @PGBiz, and you can reach out to us through the pocketgamer.biz website. If you're interested in listening to all of our podcasts, you can find them at pocketgamer.biz/podcast, and we would love to hear your thoughts on future shows.
And we've got you covered on all the major platforms, so subscribe to the audio podcast, as Brian said. Look for us on YouTube. If you want to read it, hey, you can do that too, because we have a companion post for you as well on the pocketgamer.biz website.
Tune in again for the next edition of the pocketgamer.biz podcast, and we look forward to speaking to you in the near future. Until then, I'm Brian Baglow.
I'm Peggy Anne Salz, and that's a wrap until next week.